James. I would be happy to. Dr. Richard Alan Miller is a physicist, researcher and author whose work spans an exceptionally wide range of unconventional and frontier sciences. His career path itself is a journey through the search for truth outside mainstream corridors. He holds a PhD in physics and did early research in quantum mechanics and paranormal phenomena, exploring the boundaries of consciousness and reality. His diverse body of work includes pioneering investigations into psychic abilities for the US government, which he detailed in his book, The Modern Alchemist. He is perhaps best known for his extensive work in the fields of ethnobotany, herbalism, and alternative agriculture. He authored the seminal underground text, The Potential of Folk Medicine, and has been a leading voice on the therapeutic applications of plants, long before these topics gained wider acceptance. Dr. Miller has also delved into areas like orgone energy, free energy technologies, and speculative physics concerning the nature of gravity and inertia. His approach is consistently that of a rogue scientist, connecting dots between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge theory, often challenging orthodox scientific dogma. He embodies the spirit of this show, a relentless pursuer of hidden knowledge, unafraid to venture where institutional science fears to tread. His latest work continues to explore the edges of physics, biology, and human potential. Welcome to Feet to the Fire Radio, Dr. Richard Alan Miller.
And there he is, live, Richard Alan Miller. Great to have you in the show. Turns out I found out that I was talking earlier and my mic was off, so that's going to be cut out. But I just want to reiterate how I enjoy having you on here. You're a brilliant guy, and yet you're fun to be with, and that usually doesn't happen that way. So I'd love to spend the New Year's Day with you, helping to bring in the New Year. However, based on our earlier conversation, it doesn't sound like it's going to be all that fun of a New Year. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, James. We've been doing it a long time, and everything's changing, including your mic just now. Yeah. I told you this would happen. It's happening. I have no explanation. However, I'm looking at the copy I just printed out that you sent to me.
Yeah.
You know, on what was being said by the AI. And there's so many errors in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And all the updates, isn't that interesting? And now, when you look at Microsoft and what's going on with Google and how AIs have taken our high school kids and turned them down into, I mean, the kids are so dependent on the AI now that even with no event occurring, we're going to be back in the Stone Age in 4 generations without anything else happening. And welcome to alien-based life forms taking over, even though it doesn't seem like they're doing anything but helping us. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Well, I don't know. I guess, perhaps I don't know you well enough, but I thought the AI sounded pretty good. I didn't really, you might catch the detail errors.
Well, let me give you a few examples.
Okay.
Instead of talking about ethnobotany and herbalism and alternative ag, why don't we talk about the breaking of herbal pharmacy over pharmacy as like medicine and doing your own medicine with a brain spa? That's something that Nick Begich originally. Do you know who Nick is?
Oh, yeah. I've had him on the show.
Oh, okay, good. So Nick invited me up to Alaska to get me started in writing books because I didn't know at that time that my real purpose here is to leave some footprints for what is about to happen. And oh, guess what? There are no footprints from the last 5 epochs that I did the study on. We are now in what I would call the 6th epoch as a metaphor. And if we don't begin teaching our children how to farm, there won't be a 7th epoch for Homo sapiens. Now, Homo neanderthalis, just FYI, was a more evolved species than Homo sapien. It had 3 rings in the DNA. Newsflash. Where are they? That's page 1. Page 2 is that the Mount Rainier and Mount Shasta are both throwing ash again this morning. What does that mean? I don't know, other than I would say that we're about to have another 12,000-year event occur any moment. And when AI is interfering with my ability to get children to start farming, I have a program right now that I've started with 6 locations in North America where we're doing demonstration farms for those regions for barter in North America. For example, Florida and Hawaii. I have a demonstration farm in both locations, are growing crops that you can't grow in Chicago. Excuse me, Chicago. I meant to say Chicago instead of Chicago. Yeah, you get that metaphor. Well, there's more going on right now, my dear Horatio, than I can grok, because I speak in metaphor as being real high IQ, and I know I don't know what's going on. What does that mean?
That makes you Socrates. I remember the Socrates went to the oracle because he was told he was the wisest man, and he didn't believe that. He knew he wasn't the wisest man. And when the oracle said it, he was very distraught, because he's like, but I know I'm not the wisest man. And then it dawned on him that he's the wisest man because he knew he wasn't the wisest man, whereas everybody else thinks they're the wisest man. So
well, that's where you take, like, the primary teachings of Jesus was not to judge another. And yet, all our wars have been judging others. Now, what does that mean? Well, we talked about this earlier when Pope Innocent I declared war on the Catholics. When I came out of graduate school, I knew I didn't know what was really going on. And now I've come to realize why. We're in a dream state. We're not in a conscious. Consciousness is a dream state. And here's the bad news. Drum roll, please, maestro. Consciousness is a dream within a dream, because lucid dreaming has more content to reality than consciousness does. How about this one? Our future is using us because of our incredible imagination to imagine things, not my physics, but where imagination is what creates reality, the mind's eye. And that is, let's say, we've been here before, every 12,000 years. Wait a minute, time isn't real. What does that mean? Exactly. That's the part I'd like you all to be wakey, full of Croc Dundee might say. That's because, it isn't my physics that makes something real in this conscious state. It's your imagination. And that's in one of my books, The Non-Local Mind in a Holographic Universe. And what I'm doing right now is rewriting the holographic universe into the multiverse, which is the latest edition of You Can't Get There From Here, because there will never be a theory of everything. If imagination is reality, it's wide open. So let's use our past to discover all the different possible forms of spacecraft and how to travel in space, because that seems to be when the Petri dish gets rotated. How's that one? Vermana, rocket ships, anti-gravity, who knows?
So the future...
I don't know.
The future is looking back into the multiple possible paths in order to glean that information to move forward?
They're mining us as a metaphor.
And there's a lot of metaphor going on here.
And AI, as far as I'm concerned, is an alien based life form in terms of it looks better than us, it gives better head, but it also can lie and misdirect like it did here. And
well, I tend to look at what it said as more of a summary as opposed to being, because it is short.
But I didn't get my doctorate in quantum mechanics. As a matter of fact, what I did was in 1964, when Timothy Leary gave me, I was part of Harvard's 10 gifted children that they studied, and I was up at a Deception Pass looking down at Hurricane Ridge when I was 20. I think I was 22 years old, 1964. I was a junior at Washington State University, and Leary leaned over and he said to me, "Wouldn't it be neat to jump?" And at that very moment, I no longer wanted to be an astronaut because that was my goal at that moment. What I wanted to do was understand inner space, and all the doors that were closing shut on me. And, oh, no, I don't want to hear this. No, I don't want to go there. No, I don't want to think that. It's a survival coefficient. And you know what? I went into solid state physics, and my doctorate in physics has to do with it has to do with concepts in the micro universe, not being an astronaut in physical astronomical space. Now, that was at Delaware under R.B. Murray, who got a Nobel Prize, and then they sent me to Princeton, where I did Roger Penrose and discovered when he wrote The Geometric Universe, I updated it to the dodecahedral universe. And then when I was at MIT, when Dr. Charles Muses was teaching me hyperdimensional mathematics, I then got into string theory, superstrings, which, by the way, is an 11th dimension that's an interacting wormhole. And then I became a little Boy Scout tying knots in them using knot theory, which is the form I'm going to use on the multiverse and all the universes where you didn't interview me this morning. It goes downhill from there, by the way.
Using that, how many universes I didn't interview you versus the ones I did? I mean, how dominant is me in this universe compared to the other ones?
As many updates as you got this morning.
Well, what I mean is that I think...
I mean, you know, you had to cancel last week for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that's a universe that didn't happen, where I might influence opening your and all your listeners' minds to a new concept that didn't happen last week, but this week it did. Oh, wait, no, it didn't happen this week because we couldn't get that AI to do it right, you know, et cetera. And then next we'll do next week.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that when I'm sitting here in my consciousness right now, you know,
millions.
You're
asleep right now, and all the other universes are happening right now in what we call the proton cloud, the space between when a proton is a particle and when it becomes a wave.
Right.
And they all. How many different decisions did you make this morning before you even got online here to do with me that might have influenced what's happening right now?
All right. Well, let me get back to my question before it gets lost in this proton cloud. Is that as I sit here now in my consciousness, I feel that I am the real me in the real universe at this time. And now the ones I didn't make decisions on, I didn't go there. Right? It's
well, this part of you didn't go there.
Right.
What
so my question is
favored was choice.
I mean, my question
is,
how
many different choices did you make just this moment in terms of saying something or not?
I mean, what I'm trying to get across is which of me is the real me?
Good luck with that.
I know, because the problem I have with what you're saying is that there isn't a real me, but there is a real me.
Well, yeah, that's correct. There isn't. There's a whole bunch of real me's.
There's got to be a real me, at least monitoring this.
Imagine
a higher
life forms that would look at you like a sugar ant in Gaia's kitchen, and what much she must think, Gaia, of her so-called better living through chemistry with plastic infused in everything, including my brain.
All right, I'm still going to stick to this. All right.
It goes downhill. You know, when I started to think about these things like that, all of a sudden, a bunch of naughty things started happening to me. Why is that? I don't know, but my new book on tarot cards, I have a new book coming out on tarot. It's not about fortune telling. It's about, there are 22 stories in the big city. By the way, newsflash, the Greek mythologies of where the whole concept of archetypes happened was 11,200 years ago. Newsflash. And I'm going to suggest that there are 22 stories in the big city. You and I have a minimum of at least 6 storyboards going on, different archetypal encounters going on. One like Persephone would be some, where she has to go back to hell each year. That would be some kid taking drugs, maybe once a year. We suppressed at Christmas. And what you do is you try to discover what makes you uniquely yourself and why, maybe like Persephone, you're shooting yourself in the foot all the time. And then once you discover the metaphor of that particular archetype that you particularly don't want to continue with in your life, that's when you do ritual as a celebration of mythology and you change the movie. Are we following me?
I am, but
it goes downhill. I
got
something else going on here, Mike. Really.
I'm just saying
I'm not in control of it. I'm just along for the ride, like a dream.
Yeah, but who is I?
Go to sleep. If you had taken drugs previously, and you're not getting the sleep you needed, and so you have different kinds of dreams that occur because you're, welcome to Baracha, honey.
All right, well, stop now. You just said I'm just along for the ride. Who is I?
Yeah, that's a good question.
But there's got to be an I somewhere.
That one yet. That's in another book and another time.
I mean,
that's another good response. I love it. Oh, I have 147 unfinished manuscripts. It's my purpose now at 82. I'm 82 years old. No teeth. I can't bite. I have to drink dinner. But something else is going on here. And I am seeing it clearly now from both sides now. And I don't have control of it because I look around and I can try to reach in and surgically remove some element of my behavior. But when I do that, then a different dream occurs. And I keep trying to monitor these dreams, and it's too much for me. I started with Ira Progoff, honest journaling, where I kept a diary of every day. Even if I didn't remember what the dream was, I'd say so, but by making that right to left brain notification. And magic with a C, from my understandings, now it doesn't mean I'm right. Magic with a C is hair in your pocket, sleight of hand. And magic with a K, Crowley, do what thou wilt, that place, that's sleight of mind, where you use your belief system as a tool to accomplish your purpose. I can give you an example if you need one. For example, supposing your mother is more important to you than your daughter, and yet, like mine, is dying of leukemia. I want to change that belief system that my daughter's more important at the moment to give her the kind of send-off that she did. She giggled when she died in my arms. I told her that she didn't know what was going to happen, and because I changed my metaphor and loved my daughter, which was a stepdaughter, and I said, well, Michelle, she didn't know what was going to happen when she died, and I said, well, Michelle, you're probably going to be pissed that you woke up before me. She giggled and then died, and I chose to, because she was a stepdaughter, then to change my belief back to my mother, who raised me and was very proud of me and protected me because I was a gifted child that the system wanted to mutilate. Let me put it differently. I sense that children are our single most important natural resource, way beyond oil, timber, or the rest of it. And why would they want to send our children to school to become us? That's one to think about.
Or kill them before they start.
Yeah, because in fact, they're brighter than we are. What do we have that they don't? Knowledge? I believe it was Castaneda that said that knowledge was illusion. And basically, that is, from my own perspective, the distinction between learning something and studying it, where you make it yours and it becomes uniquely you. And that's the distinction between knowledge and wisdom. And your intent is how you do what you believe in, your purpose. And mine has always been to leave things better than I found it, so I was invited back.
Well, we're still kind of talking about this I. I think it's Mark in the chat room suggested that I is an intention. When you say that I'm going to do this, you're intending to do it, but I still want to know who the
that's the I in this particular moment. There's a whole string of others that when you have self-realization, there's an echo. And then to get God realization requires a pilot with a helicopter, probably.
So if there's many different I's, let's say, is the goal to get them on the same page, all of them on the same page?
So you have an echo, and you know who you are and why. Good luck with that. Yeah. Yeah. Look at him wiping his forehead. That's what I wanted. Thank you. Because that's what our purpose is here, to discover who we are and why. What makes us uniquely different than you or the other eyes that I had made decisions so that I have resonance. When I make a decision of this over that, a group of us say, yeah, that's
right. So who's God in your theories here? Where's God come in? Is there a God?
Something God? That you cannot comprehend. The only person you can comprehend is yourself. And so what you comprehend as God is what you personally are capable of achieving in this particular dream. But you don't. Most of us don't even have a clue. And that's why all the mystics in history have stressed the importance of meditation, training the mind, using it as a tool, not an absolute. And that's the
when I say God, when I say God, I'm not referring to any religion. I'm talking about like the God, the real God, or whatever.
Well, there's a hierarchy according to the Bibles I've translated. There was Yahweh and Yad-Heh-Vah. They're not the same. And then there were the veils of Isis, Ein, Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Ur. Now, that would mean, metaphorically, Gaia, Sol, our solar system, our galaxy. I don't understand. That's the way a sugar ant may, in Gaia's kitchen, her, or them, or it. I don't know. It's what I can conceive of in this particular dream. In this dream, I see Gaia as a living entity with her brain, my brain, like in here is a cerebral cortex. Well, hers is in the Blue Mountains of Oregon as the largest life form, mycelium. And the second largest life form on Earth is in Telluride, it's an aspen grove. And what do you think? That's her gut? I don't know. And metaphorically, it might be. I don't know.
I always thought
when NASA found that same geometry that I used to take 12 NASA scientists to Mars in 1983, they found it on Saturn. That means our solar system is a life form. And if you don't think NASA doesn't want to know where that wormhole goes, I'm not kidding. And especially right now.
Well, I do think, I personally think that they are life forms, higher dimensional. All we can see is the 3 dimensions part of it. But my point in getting to this is that it seems that atheistic evolution's goal is to have the universe without God.
Okay, here, try this one. Anything with a face, 2 arms, and 2 legs, including little green men from Mars, is a carbon-based life form. I have seen aluminum-based life forms. That's creepy. I can only guess what a real silicone-based life form is about. But carbon-based have a face, 2 arms, and 2 legs, including bacteria, whatever. Something else is going on, and we are limited in our ability to conceptualize. And that's why space and time are constructs. They're not real. They're the way we originally organized our information in what we called quantum mechanics. And oh, wait, Heisenberg then showed there was an uncertainty principle. The more you knew about one thing, the less you knew about another, and why I came up with a holographic universe based on information and rather than space-time and the way you made their measurement. But it turns out I'm wrong too. That's 56 years later. I'm writing a new field theory with 2 Russian biologists. I'm doing the math part on the multiverse and all the decisions that this universe did not make that are also happening in what made you God's favorite choice. Now, with that said, who knows what's going on because we're limited to our mind's eye. And that's the last chapter in the holographic concept and why I jumped from using Mandelbrot, Julia, May, and other kinds of generators that were uniquely distinct. And now I'm going to use 10 dimensions, an 11th dimension wormhole interfacing them, and then I'm going to tie knots in them and all the different moments you made decisions going this way over that as a metaphor.
The thing is that how I've personally come up with is that when we get into these higher realms, it's beyond our comprehension. We can't understand it. It's beyond our comprehension.
Wait a minute on that.
So wait.
How did Tano put it to the Lone Ranger? What do you mean, we, white man?
I'm saying
I can comprehend it.
Humans' consciousness can't comprehend it past a certain level, can't comprehend it, right? So all you could do is come up with metaphorical or analogs to it. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means they're not precise, right?
Well, it's a construct.
Right. So as you get higher in your ability to understand, things become clearer. Now, given that, right, to me, it's a waste of time to try and get up that way because you can't understand it anyway. So what I'm trying to do is use the messages, use the metaphors and the principles they're saying to work here where I am at, and I can understand.
So Gregory Bateson put it very succinctly when he said, what is your metaphor but to serve your paradox? Oh, okay, I'll put my 2 ox out in my meadow.
Your 2 oxes in your meadow?
I'm kidding.
Oh.
Metaphor was my metaphor.
Oh.
To serve my paradox.
All right, but see,
paradox. All right.
Which gave me some kind of personal grounding in the theological, metaphysical, physical universe.
What does that mean?
To say
We're going to work
we
with
have
60 cycle or electrostatic.
What?
I
didn't hear what you said.
Gotcha. This is a man from Mars that's going to get you. Basically, we have choices in the way we ground ourselves. And the metaphor you were using, grounding, was either 60 cycle or electrostatic.
Well, I'm guessing the 60 cycle is man-made.
Well, that was
arbitrary, isn't it?
And that's why we have a choice where the herd moves to the left, the non-thinkers, the ones that are along for the ride. And it turns out the 5th plane, 4th plane. I'm a 4th plane mystic. I've met 5th plane mystics like Sharon Singh. And the first thing Sharon Singh taught to me, I was on my way through India, going into Tibet to do some work for the government back in 1979. And I met a 5th plane mystic. Now I'm not a 5th plane mystic. I know my limitations. This man had a sense like Christ might have been a 5th plane mystic, in touch with something I'm not yet in touch with. I've smoked pot with Pir Vilayat Khan and Yogi Bhajan. So I've been there, done that. But no, when I met this man, the first thing he did is he looked me in the eye. He said the most important thing that I could do is start training my mind. That was Sant Mat, S-A-N-T-M-A-T, 14th century, India. It means path of the masters. And basically, I started training my mind and writing a journal where I kept all my dreams there so that I started to integrate what a dream within a dream might imply. And this has led me to this moment where I'm talking to you about that and have no idea what I'm doing other than I know how ESP works now. All your different, I gave 8 altered states to the SEAL program, the current SEAL program, and it turned them into supermen. They call them super soldiers now, but they were supermen. They could do things you and I couldn't do. Imagine what man could become if he had access to 200 altered states, not for escape or recreation, but as tools where the laws of physics change. That's what my multiverse is about. All the different universes where you become your own God.
I mean, what I
that
mean,
means still serve something above you, because no matter where you go,
you're there.
You are.
So what I'm maintaining is that you just said several times now that you know your limits. You're not a fifth mystic or whatever. You understand. That is my point, is that there's a point which when you go past it, all right, you know about optics and telescopes, right? If you have the design of the telescope, if you magnify it past a certain point, the telescope actually corrupts what you're looking at. So when you magnify it up, it's now not real. It's now got artifacts in it. Well, what I'm saying is, in consciousness, if we try to expand that beyond our abilities, it gets to be full of artifacts. And this is where this is where we get all of this stuff up there with all these various things, is that our consciousness, which has a limit of resolution, is being brought past it, whether it be by drugs, whether it be by black arts, and what you get is in trouble. You don't get good stuff. You get corrupt stuff.
There's different, spirituality is your intent. Spirituality isn't what you do, but how you do it. So we'll call spirituality intent, and there's different phases of it, all different kinds, and each one is different for each of us. And that's what I'm doing now, is I'm exploring my consciousness, and the way I'm trying to do it is via my intent, my spiritual part. And it's not easy. And I don't know what I'm doing. I need a roadmap and a compass, and I'm often finding myself creating my own problems.
Well, and this is like my point, is that when one tries to go past their resolution, their ability, you get in trouble. You have problems.
Well, but I'm like a David Copperfield with going to the Lord with my empty bowl, saying, God, I'm still hungry. I want something more, please.
Yeah, and the idea I'm getting at, this has been years in the making for me, is rather than pushing out and going forward past that boundary and getting, we'll call it understandable information, and trying to define it, kind of give it, and you end up being in error.
Containerizing it, yeah.
Yeah, you put that bowl out, like you're saying, and Lord, lead me. And the idea is that you get filled and rounded, and then you go forward, and you get filled and rounded and go forward.
Well,
try to punch through.
A bolt of lightning hit you, and God looks down with all of his infinite wisdom, and he says, well, you know now.
Well, and there's interventions. There is interventions and blessings or grace or whatever you want to call it. It's like the guy who couldn't walk, and he came to Jesus and they healed him and he walked away. Well, his plane of consciousness in his life was being crippled, or whatever the phrase is, right? But then they had that intervention which now changed it. He's now can do more than he could do before. The same kind of metaphor could be done spiritually and mentally. But you have to be in that position to either receive that grace or go along with the program and graduate as you go. It's not like school where they try to form you into something that they want you to do. In the real spiritual world, God wants you to be like God. He says, come up here, come play. But here's the program.
That's why he had fifth plane. He had fifth plane with angels, and he had third plane with demons. And there's fourth plane with humans. And what do you think a seventh plane is? Eighth. Not
well,
well.
I don't.
String theory's got 10 of them, so good luck with that.
The way I look at the planes or up there, it's infinite. I mean, I'm finite being. I had a beginning. I mean, whether it be past lives or here or whatever. I know I had a beginning, but I'm going eternally. Well, God has been there for eternity, and He's going to eternity. He's got an eternal head start on me. So what I'm looking forward to is I have an eternity of trying to go and be and learn and be like closer to God. I got an eternity to do. I never run out. I never get bored.
Wait a minute. What do you think death might mean?
It's just a doorway.
How about waking up?
The point is we've been shoehorned into
well, no,
this.
Wait a minute. Let's pursue that for a second. If you're waking up, what would that imply in your universe? Not mine, in yours. What would waking up imply? If you were in a dream right now and you woke up, you died. You woke up from the dream.
That wouldn't be my metaphor. Would be a doorway, because you're in this particular environment, and now you've learned, you've grown, you've done.
How to integrate all the other multiverses into.
And one. You go to the next one, and you do the same
reincarnation
thing.
Or past lives, or what do you think that means?
I personally think that past lives are irrelevant to this life. That's why I don't deal with the idea of reincarnation, because it's irrelevant.
They echo values, and
I mean, they could
ways of looking at things.
I mean, they could do that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
They could. I'm not saying I'm not influenced by them, but my point is I don't have a conscious ability to utilize this stuff. It's stuff that's either there or not there. It's irrelevant to me. What is relevant to me is here and learning more.
Well, how did they put it? We're so sorry, Mr. Albert. Beatles. Why I'm saying that is that I spent 3 weeks in the jungles with Ibn Alexander. This was an individual that wrote Proof of Life. He had a near-death experience as a microbiologist and had experiences that suggested there was something else going on after death. It wasn't the end of things like my parents believed. And when I came out of grad school, I knew that there's something else going on because of the concepts of order and chaos. And I studied 6 years with Gershom Scholem, studying Old Hebrew and Greek to do my own translations. And I found discrepancies. Is that the right word? Because of my ability to do things some people can't. But that didn't mean I know what I'm doing. And that's when I began to realize that near-death experiences are not death. And there's another chapter in the non-local mind book of mine where at the moment of death, there's a 5-gram weight loss in the body. What is that? Well, I don't know, but I'm suggesting that 5 grams of weight loss is structured water in a microtubule outside the physical body as a subtle body we now call chi. I don't know, but I do know that structured water and 5 grams of structured water would be enough to contain all the different universes in the multiverse. And that's where I started to realize that maybe conceptually going from one level to the next in India, why is that? Well, Western thought works in absolutes. Daddy, I love this. Daddy, I hate that. Whereas in the Eastern schools, they work with preferences, 200 shades of gray, where you prefer the yin within the yang because it's different for each of us on what is good, bad, and gray. Absolute versus preferences. Now, these two symbols of Eastern and Western thought, when they're put in a thing and shaken all about, oh, by the way, that's the left leg that you put in the circle and you shake it all about. That was it's all about. That's the thing where the Theosophical Society, by the way, I've taught at Kratoi and Indralaya as a teacher, and no, I don't know, but trying to blend the two came up with me, which is uniquely different than you. And I find you extremely intelligent. What does that mean? I've got things to exchange with you that you and I will boing, 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 and at the end of the day, if my intent in doing it correctly worked, I've left you better than I found you. How about you?
All right. Well, I do. The people are in the chat room here. There's like a million questions, so I want to get to some of them before I get too far behind. I'm just going to pick some at random because there's so many of them.
Perfect. And you know what? That's what I love about you.
That I'm random?
No, but
Doc, being in
laughter. That's the only thing that's gotten me through this whole thing. It isn't about Black Lives Mattering. That was to polarize us. Yeah. What matters is black humor.
Doc, being in the military and involved with magic, did he cross paths with Michael Aquino or know of him?
What's this now?
With the Doc being in the military and involved with magic, did he cross paths with Michael Aquino or know of him?
Oh, I know Aquino. Yeah. Michael Aquino is Temple of Set. Now, the real Church of Satan, what's his name that wrote Church of Satan? That was, I forget his name now. He was a Carniac. He wasn't real. Aquino is actually the Temple of Set, is from my definition of point of view, is true Satanism. And I'm not either into Satan or God as fighting each other, because, of course, God was above Satan as one of the angels that fell, not rose. Got me? And so Aquino was one of the fallen. And what I would do is aspire toward being one of the Nephilim or Cherubim, or, I would like to get closer to my God and maybe become him, her, them, and then realize there's something above me as well, another God. Like that was the distinction between Yahweh, which was in biblical form, really uptight and vengeful as a God. Boom, crack, rattle. And then Yahweh, Vadhe, was more subtle. And then there were the veils of Isis that were Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Ur, as above, and so on. Now that's a limited way it was described in the old Bibles.
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit on the phone, but what I've come up with is that the Old Testament is contaminated by Babylonian priests. So when they were taken in Babylonia, all the priests and teachers were all killed. And for the 60 years they were there, they were being schooled by the Babylonian priests. So
it goes on and on when you make judgment on another. That's what made Christ, for example, someone that was way more knowledgeable than someone like me or you.
So
that doesn't make him a god. It makes him.
I mean, my point of it is that a lot of the characteristics that you find in the vengeful God of the Old Testament is actually goes into something like Marduk or others that come from that area. But the next question here is, and this is interesting, I never thought to ask you this, were you ever invited to go to Bohemian Grove?
Was I invited to Bohemian Grove?
Yeah.
No, I've never been invited there. Where I have been invited was Coven Camelot, Star of the North, neo-pagan movement. Tim and Morning Glory. We used to call her Morning Glory. Now, by the way, do you know that Tim Zell is still alive and doing his green egg form of neo-pagan movement?
Who is?
Tim Zell, Tim and Morning Glory, that started the Church of All Worlds.
Oh.
Neo-pagan. That's where I started. Then I moved to Carl Washevsky and Sandra out of Llewellyn, out of, Minneapolis, St. Paul. They lived in St. Paul. And then I met Phyllis Seckler. And Phyllis Seckler thought that when Grady McMurtry died of OTO, they offered me, is that the Temple of Bohemian? I don't know. Bohemian Grove is different. The group that was basically what we call Golden Dawn in Europe, came out of 14th century right up into the 18th century, was mostly all your top-end scholars, writers, philosophers. A lot of different people were then. I'm going to be writing about some of those because I find them interesting. One of them that's on my thing right now, hold on, when I just bring up I want to look at something, was full transcript, attack, post attendees, no, empress. I'll find it later. There were a whole series of, where was I? Right there. There, I'm back. Sorry. There were a whole series of philosophers, and what I'm going to try to do is uncover what is called the occult. What does the cult mean? Well, it means obscured. Does that mean it's obscured by clouds? Probably. Now we're getting back into my physics as a physicist. I'm trying to remain consistent so I have credibility in being a physicist, as reproducibility and repeatability are my key words. And there's lots of things. When I did my metaphysics under Dr. Carl Schleicher, studying paranormal phenomena for the military, I still don't have answers on. I don't know how to isolate the variable to actually study it. What I can tell you is, and this is an interesting thought. How do I want to put it? I flew over the Oregon vortex here in Oregon, just down the street from me, in a PBY at 15,000 feet with an interferometer in 1974. What bends light at 15,000 feet? A mini black hole. And that, in terms of our limited sugar ant ability to conceptualize. And I'm going to suggest that the Bermuda Triangle and all the ley lines that were used in a previous epoch, to have their navigation and so on rather than compass, I'm going to suggest are a series of mini black holes in a specific sacred geometry going into the out of. And that's when the last time that happened, Alaska was connected to Siberia. And what happens next is man is back in the Stone Age and has something like Neanderthal that's no longer existing, teaching him how to heat himself and build a fire, keep warm. Now, is that what's going to happen to us? I don't know. But the study I did, the first 5 epochs, man goes back to the Stone Age. And there's nothing written. I had to work with geology. So why am I hot with my purpose to finish manuscripts? Because my purpose, one of the primary ones is to always try and finish something I start. Now, whether or not it's going to survive, I have no idea. But I do know that right now we're about to have a major event occur that's going to put man back into the Stone Age, whether he likes it or not. And I sense it's really important that right now, no matter what else is done, we start teaching our children how to farm, not garden, so that the children have some kind of way of making mankind, Homo sapien, survive.
Yeah, now we talked a little about this, and I wanted to bring it up. Not that you mentioned it, might as well bring it up. Is that I've been following things this last year. Excuse me, and there's been something like 4 supernovas. There has been a huge.
You're talking about Betelgeuse and the rest of them.
That's
our sun.
That apparently just because there's a companion that goes around it to make it, but there's 4
by
supernovas.
The way, interestingly, the reason I'm changing on the white hole and black hole thing on Earth and sacred geometry is because everything I've noticed in our universe, from atoms right on up, have a positron, have a white hole, have 2 brains, blah, blah, blah. Everything's binary. And even our sun with Nibiru. Now, what does that imply? I'm not sure. But it means that something is changing on a consistent, certain level. and why I would suggest that Homo sapien, you and me, as our past to the future, like a reptilian and a tall gray or a Nordic or whatever. When I was at Groom Lake, I did one tour at Groom Lake, not because I was signed there, it's because Krill, the entity that was there, wanted to meet me. And I now personally think that Krill might have been my future programming me for this moment. I don't know. Isn't that interesting? What do you think it means? Well, one of the things she said to me that came out that I remember now, I remember that because everything, when that event occurred in 74, it's like I didn't, I have memory of it, but it's like tucked in part of my brain where I don't have access. Sort of like when I would say to you, who played in the movie Being There? You start to think about it, and you can see Peter Sellers' face, but you can't remember his name. That's how it is with me on my memory of what happened there. They did 2 weeks of debriefing, and I, because we just stood at each other. That's why I wrote that paper, Synthetic Telepathy, because I couldn't figure out how she could communicate inside my head. And that's when I first began to realize that IQ, which I have a high IQ, is just adaptability. EQ, which we haven't even begun to explore, that's real intelligence. And 20 minutes exposure with her, it was like a lifetime of words. I can't articulate it other than to say, the thing I remembered back in January, this is now January again, 1 year ago, one of the doors opened just before I did Rex Bear, and it went something like this. If you were to choose an artifact to remember Earth by, what would it be? And if you chose the right one, you get to choose a star of your choice to complete your evolution. What would that artifact be? Well, the first question I had before I chose a clamshell pulling out my whiskers, because that's how primitive our current marketing system is with razors, was choosing a star of my choice to complete my evolution might include tall grays, Nordics, reptilian, and others, depending on which choice you had. Now, who's good and who's bad? Just like Bohemian Grove, it's different for each of us. And just because I chose this over that doesn't make me wrong any more than you choosing Bohemian Grove over OTO. By the way, just as a side note, when Grady McMurtry died, I turned down the offer to be caliphate because I did not want to run a magical order that was mostly inhabited by a bunch of young kids trying to rationalize their use of drugs. That will be electromagic, where I discovered it's your immune system's response, 1979, that gets you high, not the drug, which is the toxin mostly. And when you find dimethyltryptamine in crabgrass as the most commonest plant on Earth, now that's something more than chemistry going on. There's like a delivery system from God. And so that's why I pursued altered states as tools rather than for escape and recreation. And that's what turned the SEAL program into super soldiers. And then I started to imagine, wow, what happened if I could get access to 200? Let me give you one altered state I gave the SEAL program. When I swim at the Y now, I'll drop myself into the water after I'm exhausted or tired, and I'll listen to my own breathing. And what that does is it changes me into an altered state where time slows down. Just, my perception of time slows down. And in that state, I was able to take my martial arts to a paranormal level where the precision I had. Now, if we looked at altered states from that perspective, all of a sudden we realize that the laws of physics, as I understand it, change. And that's the new field theory I'm writing regarding the multiverse. with all these different million different decisions that we make every day that change who we are and how people perceive us. And that's why I'm now driven to try to finish my 147 manuscripts, because the discoveries I've made in these things is unbelievable. And I want to leave a footprint if I can.
I would think that there's some type of limiter, because if you get people who are extremely selfish, psychopathic, or something like that, were to get higher power, it would turn things into like a hell. I mean, I think there's got to be like this.
Well, that's the idea of why it's good for this person, but not for that person. That's why Christ said you can't judge another, you judge yourself.
Well, my point being is that, talk about free energy and to talk about all these things we can't have that, because everything that's ever been made, the first application of it has been military and killing. So if we had free energy,
you mean the first thing that's used in a discovery is making a weapon out of it? Yeah, so that's not. That's why Navy ruled. When I was Navy intel, not Army. Army is 20 years later, like CIA, and it isn't CIA or Army that's bad. What it is these little cells within each larger organizations that have no accountability. That's where you'll find your criminals in everything.
Right. If you were to get unlimited power, you could have unlimited weaponry, and you could have unlimited power, and therefore you would have.
If you don't know who you are and you do it differently than a group of people might think that you should be, like we do in politics with Trump and Biden. Who's wrong? Well, I didn't vote for Trump. I voted against Biden. How's that one work? I haven't think we had a true statesman in our capital since Harry Truman.
Well, it's before my time.
I'm reminded, happy birthday, Mr. President, when Marilyn Monroe went public.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me. I look at you rubbing your forehead. I don't want you to be like that, man. I like it.
What I'm trying to me, information that's helpful is information that I could use.
Okay, what I'll do is do it this way. The thing that you need to do, all of you, if you want to become more who you are, you need to start keeping a diary of your dreams at night, that you wake up in the morning. If you can't remember them, just say so. But try to start dialoguing where you're writing from right to left brain. I do it now, not in a journal. Okay, I started that in 1971. Then you start to meditate. Take 10% of your life, that's 2 hours every day, and you go internal. And all of those roads lead to Rome. Some are more efficient, quicker, faster, more efficient, whatever. They're all different, predicated on your values and what's important to you. But you need to start training your mind and then writing it down where it goes from right to left brain. And guess what that is? That's called time travel. Because when you go back 20 years to look at something that you wrote, what happens is your mind goes right back to that moment when you wrote it 20 years ago. And that's a type of time travel that is useful in becoming whom you are wanting to become. And that's why I keep a journal every day and why I meditate every day, training my mind, trying to use it as a tool. I know I don't know, but that's what I've discovered in my past.
Like I say, I've been doing the show my 23rd year. I've been doing this, and in the first, say, 15 years, I was doing a 4-hour internet radio. Well, it was syndicated for a while. Then the network went out of business. But my point is that I had a million people on here, all the time. Every Ed Dames. I mean, all the people that from coast to coast onward and all that. And one of the things after doing it for all these years, I look back and there's only a small amount that actually was any value. I spent a lot of time with for example, the whole Planet X phase and Nibiru. I spent years on that, having every guest down there to learn about it. And my bottom line is, it's not real. There isn't a Nibiru. It's impossible, physically impossible. The times are arbitrary. They're forced to fit over the time frames. Could a planet come in? Yeah, sure. A planet could come in, a rogue planet. I mean, look at the
three eye atlases.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen, right? But it's not the whole Nibiru type Planet X Nibiru thing. It's not true. And yet you go online and people are so absolutely sure about it that they actually filter out the rest of their reality based around that. And you can pick whatever thing you want to talk about. And what I have learned from going through all of this stuff is there is a reality, right? Reality is real. A lot of it's relative because we don't have all the information. So we've put together models to explain things. And as more information comes in, we change the model, right? And this is what's supposed to be happening. The problem is now, even in science, even in science, they've come up with like this kind of like, you have to believe this or you're not a real science person anymore. But science used to be.
Well, that's you trying to control someone else's thoughts. And really what you should be doing is be concerned with your own.
Yeah, so a lot of the people that I've had on the show, I just have no interest anymore because what they're talking about is it's a construct that people believe in, and they keep the ball rolling and have the ball rolling, and they'll throw dates out. The dates don't happen, and they keep the ball rolling, and it's
their vision is the correct one.
I mean, it's like years of waste.
They're all correct. How's that work?
What'd you say?
Huh?
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Oh, I said everyone wants to prove that their way is correct, and yet I'm going to suggest that they're all are correct, including Bohemian Grove. Although I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah,
it's probably right for them.
Well, I want to take that statement you said. I'm taking it from my perspective. I don't want to prove I'm correct. I want to learn what's real, what's true. I want to learn it. And I understand we're limited. I understand new data will come up. I understand we'll grow more. I know we can't understand everything. So if I'm wrong, I don't have a problem with that because if I learned I'm wrong, I'm now closer to right. So it's not a question of proving.
Two thumbs. That's it. Right.
The problem is what I found from doing this show in trying to find truth, the lack of contradiction. I mean, I've been saying this for all these years.
But you can't get there from here, can you?
People don't want to know that. They don't want to know truth.
Don't.
They want somebody to perpetuate their belief system. I mean, you can, when you come in here, if you ever read the chat room, there's a million things in the chat room, and they're talking about their belief system and this and Egypt and all this stuff, and aliens and all that thing. But to me, for example, the building of the pyramids, there is a reasonable, logical, physical way that they were built that doesn't include aliens. It doesn't include anti-gravity. It could be done using. They talk about those rocks that they have in South America, where they're look like pillows, right? They're all cut perfectly. There's a simple solution for it. It was like a cement. It was poured into sacks.
Tibet, when I went to Tibet, one of the studies I did that I haven't written about yet was that the Buddhists there had these big long horns that they communicate across canyon, and they put these horns. But when you put 17 of them in a specific geometric alignment, it so compressed the air that large, impossible objects would float, and you could push it with a finger. Now, were the pyramids built with elephants or with this technology?
I personally would have to see
that. The technology.
I mean, somebody saying that happened does not make it real.
No.
I mean, that's the problem is when I'm
what makes it real is your mind's eye.
When I've been doing this show for years, I've gotten all these statements, and I got very little reality out of it.
Well, you got some. You have me back.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that you're back here, there's stuff inside you that does make sense and resonate. It's just that
For you, but not necessarily everybody.
I agree. I agree, but I'm just saying that this is where it's been frustrating for me, is because I've been looking for answers.
You use your radio as a way to discover who you are, like I do radio to make income, so I can write my books and discover who I am. If that made sense.
Somebody mentioned Carl Castle, and yet there is ample evidence that he used pulleys to move it around. There actually was pulleys found there, very complex pulleys, but now they have it that Coral Castle used meditation or levitation and all that. This the problem I've had is that it seems like, do you want to find like reality, or you want to just keep your illusion or delusion going? And I want to find reality, and that seems to separate me, unfortunately, from a lot of people, because they don't want it. They don't want to question. I mean, on my email,
probably why we're going into another Stone Age. I don't know.
This is why I have in my tagline. Socrates said that.
How did they put get out of jail card?
What?
Yeah. What? Get out of jail card.
Get out of jail card.
Might have a get out of jail card. That's what a fifth plane mystic is. Not me. One that comes back, as a metaphor, comes back to leave some footprints for man. Try to guide them like that. That's why Christ came back. I don't know. As a metaphor.
To me, the bottom line is a lot of these talks, all it is distraction from what we're supposed to be doing here, which is preparing ourselves spiritually for ascension. But I hate to use the word because it's been co-opted. That's the whole point of life. That's the whole point
of your life. Some people don't give a damn. They think they're already there.
Right. I'm just saying. So, if someone asks me what I think the point of life is, that's what I'll say. Now, do I have to make them do it, or no? I do whatever they want. But it seems that what I have found in doing the show, for example, is that I have found a lot of what not to waste my time on.
What I've discovered is what I don't want to do.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest lesson I've gotten so far, is what not to do, as opposed to what to do.
And the opening of what you could do is still wide open space out there.
Now, for my own self, I'm coming around to what I want to do and should do, and this is what I'm going to be going into in the next year. And reason why I'm not having too many guests on anymore, because I got nothing.
Well, metaphysics, meta meaning beyond.
Yeah. So,
like, it hasn't been defined yet. It's open space. That's why I got interested in metaphysics, because I'm a real good physicist, but I'm like David Copperfield. I still want something more.
So if people are interested, I do have a link to everything I've ever done over the last 22 years, including many, many visits with Richard. And a lot of these people in the past, David Booth, Ed Dames, James McKinney, I just actually had him on a little while ago, but James McKinney, all these people, and I have all this stuff is available. So if anybody, that's free, they could download it, they can listen to it while they're driving or working or what have you. But the whole history, basically, of internet radio is available for anybody who's interested. Pete35radio.com, there's links to all that stuff. You just spend a little time there to find it. And I have, if you go to my YouTube channel in particular, I have a link to all the YouTube videos that I did with Richard Allen Miller, going back to the earliest times when I had to actually have a camera pointing at the monitor because there was no way to do it inside the computer.
Yeah. When I taught metaphysics at Harvard, we didn't have cell phones. That was at 1989 to 2001. I taught 15 8-week courses at MIT and Harvard. And those are the so-called, that's when we had texting rather than audio, video.
Yeah, when I was doing computers in college, I was using punch cards.
I know. That's what I did when I did Project Paraphile. We worked with a 360 computer at the UW in 1972, and that's the book called Project Paraphile that nobody's interested in. I still have numbered editions of it. Can you imagine? Nobody bought that one but that was in 1972 when I took questions from the audience. What we did is I had a religious church do a bunch of key punching of all the Russian literature, and then we added two algorithms, serendipity and synergy. And you'd ask a question, and I'd be able to pull up the things. What's happening? Are you okay?
Yeah, keep going. I just had a cramp in my leg.
Oh, yeah. I know about old age. Jesus, look at my teeth. I can't even drink. I have to drink dinner now. I have to take everything in a grinder and turn it down into applesauce in order to eat. If I do a meat because I'm O negative and need to eat a protein from animal sources. Sorry about the cramp. Okay.
I have to stand up.
What we need is Nurse Ratched in there massaging it.
Yeah, I just have to stand up here, so.
I love you too, James. Sorry.
You keep talking. I just got to stand up here.
Well, I don't know what else to say. What I would like to do, what I respond best to, like when you and I actually got to meet back in Chicago, is when your listening audience has specific questions and they need direction on what I might do to try to discover. And I'd be honored to do that. If you have a group of people that want to ask a bunch of questions and you get a bunch of them loaded down, it would be my honor to be able to go through them and try to do real quick, half-minute recommendations where I would go. That doesn't mean that's the right place to go, but that would be what I would do as a physicist, trying to find an answer. And let me tell you, I know that I don't know, because physics is kind of like Simon says, I can go halfway to the door. I can get real close, but I've never gotten a cigar. Oh, poor James. I feel sorry that you're cramped.
Oh, yeah, it's a pretty good one. Oh, it's a hurt.
Is that because of old age or because you needed to get a break from me?
I think it's, well, I mean, this may be in the realm of too much information, but my kidney is working fine. It's just that the filters are too large, so I actually pass some protein.
Oh.
And in the process, I already went to a nephrologist years ago, and they just said that I just have that's just the way my kidney is. But the downside to that is it passes out a lot of minerals that normally it would retain. And so I have to make sure that I drink a lot of fluid with minerals in it. And I may not have had enough. And I've
noticed I'm doing more fluids right now.
I might, you know what? I'm going to probably have to end this in.
Well, no, it's okay. I've given you some uploads that you might want to look at, and then feel free to use as posts if you'd like. The Daily Conspiracy is one that it's a new newsletter that I've started last year and seems to be nailing things pretty good.
So. How does people get a hold of that, by the way?
It's on my website. If you go to my website, you'll see the Daily Conspiracy. And every day I put up about 20 to 50 links of what I think are interesting reports from different people, which means you're not going to like everything in there, but there might be one or two links that are really giving you exactly what you were seeking that moment. That's what my Daily Conspiracy is about right now. Yeah. I show you why Microsoft 11 is not something any of us want to use.
No.
I give you an argument on that. And if you do have 11, how to protect yourself from what it does.
Yeah, I stopped with Windows 7. I still have Windows 7.
I did too. Isn't that 7? I stopped with Windows 7. Yeah. It did everything for me. I did the non-local mind all by myself, except the cover. I did all the artwork and layout of that book. But after they did 10, they seemed to feel like they had to upgrade Windows 7 and make it to the point where I now need a layout person. I don't have a lot of money, but I'm prepared to give you a percentage of what that book does. And every single book I've written so far clears a minimum of $20,000 in a 2-year period. Minimum.
I'm going to have to go here, Richard.
I know. I'm sorry, Jim.
I got to go get some
and we'll go ahead and edit this as you need it. And if you need some more, just holler and let me know, and I'll be there for you. No problem. You're feeling better, cowboy.
All right. So the chat room is being saved. So people who watch this in replay should be able to see the chat as it goes along.
And have questions, and I'd be honored to try to respond to them. No problem.
All right. So I'm going to have to go here. So
take care of yourself. Thank you for having me, Jim.
All right. Thank you, Richard. God bless. And I'll see you guys again.
Right. God bless. I'd like to do it physically if I could. Yeah. I'd love to come back and do Darshan with you. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks.